Discounts on food, Uber rides and even cinema tickets are being offered to young people in England in a bid to get more vaccinated, with only 20% of 18 to 24-year-old double dab. There you are, I told you, it hasn't kicked in. Double dabbers. Ministers clearly worried about the slow uptake.
Well, John MacDonald's the head of government affairs at the Adam Smith Institute, supports this move, while Emma Webb is a social commentator and broadcaster is against it. Let's start with you, John. Good morning to you both, though. John, why do you think this is a good idea?
Hi, morning. Well, look, this is not about compelling hardline anti-vaxxers, for example. We have to accept that there's always going to be a small, durable group of people who would refuse the jab no matter what. This is about appealing to young people who might think that they don't need it, or those who haven't had it out of convenience, more so than opposition. And I think by providing eligibility for discounts or free goods, you're just making it that bit more enticing to get the vaccine, sweetening the deal, as it were.
Emma, bribery, it'll work, won't it?
Certainly, when you compare it to what we've been discussing around the more sort of the stick rather than the carrot, in using vaccine passports as a way of encouraging people to get the vaccine. Certainly, this is not as unethical as that. But I think that there is still an issue here with the trivialising of medical consent. So on the one hand, it's quite patronising, I think, to young people to sort of offer them trinkets as a nudge to try and get them to take up the vaccine. But on a more serious level, I think this trivializing of medical consent is really quite concerning, because what it really suggests is that the government want to play on people's emotions rather than their reason in order to try and get them to have a particular medical intervention. And I think that sets a concerning precedent. And when we're talking about medical ethics and we're talking about informed consent, that is very concerning.
I mean, Emma, good morning. They are using this sort of incentive-driven jabbing system, shall we say, around the world, and it's working successfully. I mean, I believe that they're offering sort of marijuana in one state in America. I mean, obviously, you know, that's a little bit far off, but it is working. I don't see why it can't be a good idea. If we need to harness this in those younger, the 18 to 24-year-olds, why it would be a bad idea.
I think just because it's effective doesn't necessarily mean that it's ethical. And as I say, you know, it's the carrot and stick approach. And certainly the government has at least taken some note in deciding to drop the discussions about having vaccine passports for students. So they're obviously at least taking on board some of the criticism around the more draconian, unethical approaches that they've been taking. But I think that just because it's ethical doesn't mean that it's firstly not just because it's effective doesn't mean that it's ethical. And it is also patronising. It almost, obviously it's been likened to bribery. The Mirror called it a gimmick. I've heard it being described as treating young people like dogs that can be trained with food to behave in the way that the government wants. But I think there is a serious point to be made about the way that we're thinking about medical consent and informed consent, because, as I say, this is playing to people's more base instincts rather than allowing them to make a sort of reasoned decision. There are other ways as well that you can increase vaccine take-up that it's been suggested is quite effective, such as having pop-up stores that go to people to make it more convenient for them to have that. But I do think that we need to consider that, you know, just because something is effective, it doesn't necessarily mean that the government should be doing it and that it's ethical.
John, let's pick up on that ethical point. Do you regard it as unethical? And picking up also on that point of perhaps going to festivals and to setting up a marquee there and offering jabs to where the young people are. Is that the way this should be going?
Well, look, on it being ethical or not, there's nothing wrong with incentivizing something that is good, right? I mean, vaccines help save lives. There's a broader community benefit of young people getting vaccinated. It prevents further lockdowns. It helps it helps limit the spread of the virus. And I think it's absurd to be sort of voicing moral concerns about a policy that encourages good behavior that's beneficial to society. On the subject of kind of, pop-up vaccine stores, I think working with companies like Uber and Bolt, I mean, slightly different point, but it's still in working with companies like Uber and Bolt to offer free rides or heavily discounted rides to vaccination appointments is all about helping young people who might otherwise be deterred by cost or convenience from getting the vaccine. And I think it's a very good thing to be doing.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.